Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Shodanandana Braj Janaran Yamuna Dira Vanjari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Braj Janarandana Yashodanandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya 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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna everyone. So today we will start from Prabhupada's Leela That's from chapter Stay High Forever. Don't you think, Swamiji, it's a little too esoteric for New York? Alan asked. Hayagriva thought. Maybe, he replied. Hayagriva then asked Alan to help the Swami since his visa would soon expire. He had entered the country with a visa for a 2-month stay, and he had been extending his visa for 2 more months again and again. This had gone on for 1 year. But the last time he had applied for an extension, he had been refused. We need an immigration lawyer, said Hayagriva. I will donate to that. Alan assured him. The next morning, Alan Ginsberg came by with a check and another harmony. Up in Prabhupada's apartment, he demonstrated his melody for chanting Hare Krishna. Then he and Prabhupada talked. Alan, I was a little shy with him because I didn't know where he was coming from. I had that harmonium, I wanted to do it, and I had a little money. I thought it was great now that he was here to expound on the Hare Krishna mantra. That would sort of justify my singing. I knew what I was doing, but I didn't have any theological background to satisfy further inquiries. And here was someone who did. So I thought that was absolutely great. Now I would go Now I would go around singing Hare Krishna, and if anybody wanted to know what it was, I could just send them to Swami Bhaktivedanta to find out. If anyone wanted to know the technical intricacies and the ultimate history, I could send them to him. He explained to me about his own teacher and about Chaitanya and the lineage going back. His head was filled with so many things and what he was doing. He was already working on his translations. He always seems to be sitting there just day after day and night after night. And I think he had one or two people helping him. Prabhupada was very cordial with Alan, quoting a passage from Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says that whatever a great man does, others will follow. He requested Alan to continue chanting Hare Krishna at every opportunity so that others would follow his example. He told about Lord Chaitanya's organizing the first civil disobedience movement in India, leading a Sankirtan protest march against the Muslim rulers. Alan was fascinated. He enjoyed talking with the Swami. But they had their differences when Alan expressed his admiration for a well-known Bengali holy man. Prabhupada said that the holy man was focused. Alan was shocked. He had never before heard a Swami severely criticize another's practice. So Prabhupada explained, on the basis of Vedic evidence, the reasoning behind his criticism. And Alan admitted that he had naively thought that all holy men were 100% holy. But now he decided that he would not simply accept a sadhu, including Prabhupada, on blind faith. He decided to see Prabhupada in a more severe critical light. Alan, I had a very superstitious attitude of respect, which probably was an idiot sense of mentality. And so Swami Bhaktivedanta's teaching was very good to me, very good to make me question that. It also made me question him and not take him for granted. Allen described a divine vision he had in which William Blake had appeared to him in sound and in which he had understood the oneness of all things. A sadhu in Vrindavan had told Allen that this meant that William Blake was his guru. But to Prabhupada, this made no sense. Allen, the main thing above and beyond all differences was an aroma of sweetness that he had, a personal, selfless sweetness like total devotion. And that was what always conquered me. Whatever intellectual questions or doubts I had, or even cynical views of ego, in his in his presence there was a kind of personal charm. Coming from dedication that conquered all our conflicts, even though I didn't agree with him, I always liked to be. Alan agreed at Prabhupada's request to chant more and to try to give up smoking. Do you really intend to make these American boys into Vaishnavas? Alan asked. Yes, Prabhupada replied happily, and I will make them all Brahmins. Alan left a $200 check to help cover the legal expenses for extending the Swami's visa and wished him good luck. Brahmanas. Alan did see how such a transformation could be possible. We'll stop here and we will move on to today's verse. Om Namo भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायः भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भागवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। So we are discussing about King Puranjana. So Narad Muni is using King Puranjana's so it is Canto 4, verse chapter 27, verse number 12. युक्तेस् युक्तस्व एवं प्रमत्तस्य कुटुम्बभासक्तचेतसा आससाद संवै कालो यो प्रिया प्रिययोषिता युक्तेषव एवं प्रमत्तस्य कुटुम्बभासक्तचेतस आससादा संवै कालो यो प्रिया प्रिययोषितम् युक्तेष्व एवं प्रमत्तस्य कुटुम्बभासक्तचेतस आससाद सवै कालो यो प्रिया प्रिययोषितम् Word to word translation. Yuktesu, two beneficial activities. Evam, thus. Pramatasya, being inattentive. Kutumba, to kith and kin. Asakta, attached. Chetasa, consciously. Asasada, arrived. Sa, that, way, certainly. Kala, time. Ya, which. Appear, not very pleasing. Priya Yoshitam, for persons attached to women. The translation and purpose by Srila Prabhupada. So thus King Puranjana being attached to fruitive activities, karma kandya, as well as kith and kin, and being obsessed with polluted consciousness, eventually arrived at the point not very much liked by those who are overly attached to material things. Purport. In this verse, the word Priya Yoshitam and Apriya are very significant. The word Yoshit means woman, and Priya means dear or pleasing. That is not very much welcome for those who are too much attached to material enjoyment and which culminates in sex. There is an instructive story in this connection. Once, when a saint was passing on his way, he met a prince, the son of a king, and he blessed him, saying, "My dear prince, may you live forever." The sage next met a saintly person and said to him, "You may either live or die." Eventually, the sage met a brahmachari devotee and he blessed him, saying, "My dear devotee, you may die immediately." Finally, the sage met a hunter and he blessed him, saying, "Neither live nor die." The point is that those who are very sensual and are engaged in sense gratification do not wish to die. Generally, a prince had enough money to enjoy his senses. Therefore, the great sage said that he should live forever. For as long as he lived, he could enjoy life. But after his death, he would go to hell. Since the brahmachari devotee was leading a life of severe austerities and penances in order to be promoted back to God, the sage said that he should die immediately. So he does not need to continue to labor hard and could instead go back home, back to Godhead. A saintly person may either live or die, for during his life he is engaged in service, serving the Lord, and after his death he also serves the Lord. Thus, this life and the next life are the same for a saintly devotee, for in both he serves the Lord. Since the hunter lives a very ghastly life due to killing animals, and since he will go to hell when he dies, he is advised to neither live nor die. King Puranjana finally arrived at the point of old age. In old age, the senses lose their strength, and although an old man desires to enjoy his senses, and especially sex life, he is very miserable because his instrument of enjoyment no longer functions. Such sensualists are never prepared for death. They simply want to live on and extend their life by so-called scientific advancement. Some foolish Russian scientists also claim that they are going to make immortal through scientific advancement. Under the leadership of such crazy fellows, civilization is going on. Cruel death, however, comes and takes all of them away despite their desire to live forever. This type of mentality was exhibited by Hiranyakashipu, but when the time was ripe, the Lord possibly killed him within seconds. What a wonderful purpose by Srila Prabhupada. ॐ ज्ञानतिमन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितां तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिपूर्णसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णा पादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमस्ते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी विश्वानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नामने नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते वेदांत स्वामी नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य सतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद Hare Krishna. So there's a lot of learnings from this text. So where we are in this context. So you have known that Narad Muni is giving an example story to King Prachina Barish and explaining him all the problems that he has through a story of King Puranjana, as an example of King Puranjana. And Puranjana got so much involved in sense gratification that he just could not distinguish between good and bad. So that's what we are going to explore today, that how sense gratification destroys a person and over attachment. And in this translation and verse, what we see that King Puranjana has lived all his life as very much attached, overly attached to sense gratification. And because of that, when somebody comes to the old age, it's very difficult to suddenly remove all of those attachment. And that's where it says in the translation, he has come to a point where it is not liked by many people because at the old age, the body doesn't function as it used to, but the desire is same if it is not purified. So Prabhupada has explained that story as well. That he gives a story of a sage, how he is giving boons to four different people. So he's giving boons to a prince, saying you can enjoy and you have a long life. Externally, it seems like a boon, but internally, there was no point for him to die because he was doing nothing for spiritual advancement. So even if he dies, he's going to go to hell. So it's better he enjoys and then he dies. That's good for him. Uh, and then in case of a sadhu, which he met, so he mentioned that neither live nor die. So he blessed him with that. Because at that point when no, he said either live, not neither, either. To hunter, he said neither. So either live or die. Because a sage is living this life. So even when they are living this life or whether they have dead, it's same for them because they are serving Krishna. So so for them, they are already liberated. Then in the case of hunter, neither live nor die because if you live, he will do all the sinful activities of hunting. And if he dies, he will get ghastly reactions. So for him, he's in between, stuck. And brahmacharis, they go through severe austerities. So he's been compassionate to him that why do you have to work so hard? I bless you that you go immediately because you are anyway working so hard to go back to Godhead. I bless you, die immediately so you can go back to Godhead. So you don't have to labor so hard and fight against this Maya. From from this story, Prabhupada is saying that those who are attached, especially the case of prince, those who are attached to the sensual desire, sensual sense gratification, it is they don't wish to die. They don't want to die. Nobody wants to die if they don't know the goal of life. What is next after this? There's a story from Mahabharata. There was a time when Yudhishthira Maharaj went to a lake, and Dharmaraj asked him a question before you can drink that water. He asked him a question that what is the most wonderful thing in this world? And Maharaj Yudhishthira replied, Ahani ahani bhutani gacchanti ha yamalayam. So that means he's saying every moment people are dying. But those who are living are thinking, my friend has died, but I shall live forever. So even in our day-to-day life, I remember sometimes very close ones, we see the loss, we go through the grieving stage, but then we don't realize that it's going to come to us as well. That realization is not as strong because we just take that as a part of life, but not that helps one think that what will happen to us that is actually coming to us as well. And people are thinking that all these material advancement, scientific advancement can improve this real problem, which is death. You know, Belgium is the most advanced country, and it is advancing over the years. But what has not advanced? The death rate is same. So they can't stop there. Nobody can stop there. So that is the real problem. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Janma Mrityu Jara. So all these four are the real problems. And what is the root cause is that ignorance, because we don't realize that these are the real problems. We are so much entangled and attached in our day-to-day life that there is no time to think about spirituality. And then people are at the end of life, they leave spirituality till the last moment. That at the end of the life, this is something I need to do at the end. It's less prioritized. I need to work hard. I need to get this done. I need to get that done. But it gets quite difficult. Like at the age of childhood, child will think, oh, I'm very busy playing. Who has time to do some chanting, do some sort? Child doesn't need to chant, but if they favorably want to chant, it's good for them to chant. At the same time, it's good for them to play. So we can start the process from the very beginning. We don't have to leave it till the old age. But those who whimsically act without the Vedas, they don't want to think that this is the life. There is no end. There is no end. There is no life after this. So just eat, enjoy. And that is the whole philosophy for those type of people. But there are some kind of people who understand that they want to make their life a little, they follow scriptures, but they don't know the goal of it. So what they are going, because they are attached to fruitive activities, so they are doing all sort of worship for the fulfillment of their sense desires. So from Karma Kandas and Vedas, there are some sections where it will say that if you do this, you will get that. If you do this, you'll get that. So people get attracted to those things more than actually where it's saying that, oh, Krishna is supreme, worship Krishna. So the point is that we need to understand what is our real identity. What is the real goal of life? Why we are in this rat race of this life? What is that we want to achieve at the end of it? And if that goal is to reach to Krishna, to serve Krishna, to connect to Krishna, then that is the real goal. That should be the real goal. Because Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Pratyaji, saying abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. So it's there is an example of a person in a jail. Suppose a person goes in a jail and one night outside his areas, he sees a key and a bread and or maybe iPhone, something very attractive to the person. What will that person choose? He wants the bread and iPhone to just enjoy in the jail, or he would, if he would be intelligent enough, he would want to take the key and go out of the jail because, of course, the life is much better outside the jail. But if the goal is not aligned and if the person is not intelligent enough, they will choose those material fruitive activities compared to the key which can actually liberate one from this material zone. So that's why it's very important that we have got this human body. We have one, it is very rare to get human body. One goes through from 8.4 millions of species. And then somebody gets human birth and we should utilize it. There is a very nice bhajan. It is written by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who wrote in his bhajan, Durlabha Manava Janma. The human form of life is the rarest opportunity for attaining spiritual perfection. But he's saying, but now I am lamenting because somehow I have been born with such an opportunity, but I wasted it by never worshipping Lord Krishna. So worshipping Krishna is the ultimate purpose of soul, which he is trying to explain through his bhajan, that which one can only do in this human body. So if you have got this human body, understands its importance. understand that how it should be utilized. It's a great and rare opportunity. So we should not miss it out. And then we see, as I was mentioning about lots of information as mentioned in the Vedas, that people perform karma kanda sexual activities. So one may think that what should one follow? So Krishna is very clearly saying in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, he's saying, Vedascha sarver aham eva vedyo. That means by all the Vedas, I am to be known. So if Krishna is to be known, we don't have to waste so much of time and energy in knowing all different sections of the Vedas. We need to say the cream, the essence, which is the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And then in that instruction, he is of course saying that abandon all varieties of religion. I will and surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Saying Masuchaha, he's assuring. Nobody assures us that we are suffering because of our own karmic reactions. But nobody assures us. But Krishna is assuring that just come to me. I will help you out. But we don't want his help some of the times. So that's what the intelligence is, that we need to turn to Krishna, to surrender unto him. He is the one who can nullify all our sinful reactions. And in fact, he can take us, we can go back to him. In Vedanta Sutra, it says, what are the three stages of perfection? If you're going through this path, what are the three stages? So first, it starts that if one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So first stage is that one has to understand that where we are. Are we this body? Are we this soul? What is our connection with Krishna? And then first thing is it just comes to as an information process. But then it comes to the understanding and realization process that, oh, I am the servant of Krishna. That is my real identity. That is my real dharma, to serve Krishna. And then we start to perform different 9 processes of devotional service. We want to serve Krishna through that. So then we can approach him once we get a desire to serve him. And then at the end, one can attain supreme goal. And supreme goal is Krishna. So process is to serve Krishna. Starting is to understand Krishna, and even goal is Krishna. So, and then living entity may think that, oh, I am living in this material world. I can't just do only spiritual activities. I am not at that level. And that's correct. We can't suddenly renounce everything and only do uh, spiritual activities. But at the same time, we can spiritualize our material activities as well. So that is the way of living. Like there are 2 kinds of duties of a living entity. One is constitutional, which is linked to our constitutional position as a soul, and the other is conditional, which is linked to our body. So constitutional duties are like you understand that you are the spirit soul, so you have some duties towards your soul because you are soul yourself. So you need to have that duties that we need to serve Krishna, because it's like we have to follow the real dharma. The dharma of salt is that it's salty. The dharma of sugar, that it's always going to be sweet. So the dharma of soul is to always serve. Soul can't live without serving. And who it can serve? It can serve Krishna. So that is the real dharma of a soul, which if we neglect, we can't be satisfied. So, and conditional duties are those that we are living in this body. So we have to take care of the body. We have to take care of the extended body as well, which is our family members, our friends, nation. So those duties should also be looked after. But under what circumstances it should not be looked after? Any thoughts? the conditional duties, under what circumstances we should not do conditional duties, some of those conditional duties. So I'll answer that, no worries. So it's just that when they run in parallel, it's like a train track. If the two tracks run in parallel, the train is going to go nicely, it will not be off track. But if one track is going this way and the other track is going that way, we are going nowhere. So that is a looping situation. So it's so when our conditional duties doesn't come as a hamper in our spiritual duties, then it is good to fulfill those conditional duties. So we have to make sure all our material activities are aligned with our spiritual activities. It should not be that something that we are doing and then it neglecting our spiritual duties. So that is the higher intelligence, to understand the difference, then understand how we can balance that in our life and what is favorable to us. In terms of conditional duties, we can choose what is favorable to our spiritual progress and what is completely not favorable. Just by doing that, you will just go really far away from your spirituality. So that understanding is quite a key. And one should follow conditional duties and only with the thought process that it is going to help me purify the desire of sense gratification. Otherwise, if one is only following conditional duties and they are not thinking that they are the spirit soul and they are out of ignorance, they have no knowledge of their constitutional duties. They say, oh, constitutional duties, that is spiritual duties, I will do at the end of my life. But now I only want to focus on my like lots of material activities that we do. But the idea is that even those material activities, if we do without keeping Krishna in the center, then it becomes conditional. But we can make them constitutional as well if we bring Krishna in those activities as well. So it's good to align that so we can easily surpass the cycle of birth and death. Like in every stage, one should balance these two duties. Like if childhood stage is mainly people want to play, kids wants to play, and it's good. We can't stop the kid that no, you can only chant, you can only do all these sevas, no play for you because that's conditional, that's material duties. But that play is not really harming. It's not harming the child's growth. In fact, it's good for the child's growth. So if as long as that is not in a very negative play, and it is good for the child's consciousness in developing his spirituality, then they should do both. The child can come and take darshan and do whatever activities he's happy to do. It's good. In student life, one will think, oh, I'm too busy, I need to just study. That is the focus of my life. And that's great. We should study. We should not neglect our conditional duties at that time. But at the same time, person can chant, person can remember Krishna, come to temple. So that doesn't need to be neglected and put at one corner. Same thing for family life. We're too busy working, we're too busy fulfilling our family duties. And at the same time, we can bring Krishna in those duties. So we can chant together, we can read together, we can do lots of things where we can balance these duties together. And then, and what happens if people leave it to the old age only? So it's like you have practiced all your life to not remember Krishna. Then suddenly, at the last phase of our life, we want to work hard and purify our consciousness and just remember Krishna. Then it will be very difficult. It's like preparing for an exam. You have been given 1 month and you just study in the last day and you want to just study and excel in that exam, then it's not possible to maybe pass the exam sometimes, unless that student is very, very bright. So That's why we need to understand that the practice needs to be done as soon as possible. That urgency need to be there. That and even we can't even wait till old age because we don't even know how long is our life. Nobody knows that how long somebody will survive. They can die in a young age also. So it's very important to understand this urgency that we need to do something for our constitutional position. And we need to tolerate. So it starts from sense gratification, checking in. What are the sense gratification part and how we are tolerating the urges to over enjoy those senses. So the point is that in one moment we'll say, oh, all this is sense gratification. From today, I'm just spiritual and I'm doing no sense gratification. Is it possible? No, it is not possible because one cannot just immediately turn into spirituality. It is like a gradual process. We have to have a conscious effort and practice again and again. Somebody who learns to walk, even a child doesn't just get up and start walking. It's a conscious and consistent effort to walk, learn to walk. But that walking inclination is there. That means that bhakti, that spiritual nature is in us. We just need to discover it. So Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita, actually Krishna says that how we should be regulated. So we need to, what is the essence here? That sense gratification can be curbed through regulation, bringing regulation in our life. So he who is regulated in his habit of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. That's what Krishna is saying. He's asking for the regulations. And then how Acharya explains this sense gratification. Acharya explains this sense gratification as an itch. Sometimes we feel like itching. I remember I developed one eczema once after being quite unwell. And it was really difficult to stop not to itch. So that's so they have described sense gratification as an itch. Where itch, you want to scratch it. But if you scratch more and more, does it solve the problem of itch? It doesn't. It just more and more we want to itch till it bleeds. We want to bleed our skin. So it's same thing, like sense gratification. We say, oh, little bit will do, but it will increase our desire to a little bit more, little bit more. So we just go into a cycle of having to such an extreme over level of sense gratification that we're just going to bleed our spiritual life. So tell you a story of how sense gratification can really destroy somebody. There's from scriptures there are they were two brothers, Sundar and Asundar. They did lots of austerities, worship Lord Brahma for some boon. Finally, after a long time, Lord Brahma came and he said, I am very pleased with your austerities. Please tell me what boon you would like. And those two brothers were like, oh, we are friends. We are like brothers. No issues can come in between us. So what we can ask, because of course Lord Brahma can't give immortality. Nobody wants to die. Again, same concept. So he can't say that nobody can kill you. So they had to choose somebody can kill them. So they chose that, okay, give us a boon that nobody can kill us except each other. I can kill him and he can kill me, but nobody else can kill. They were so confident that, of course, they would not kill each other. So then they got that boon and they started creating lots of havoc in the whole environment. All the devatas and everybody were so frustrated with all the disturbance that they were causing. So Lord Vishnu sent a very beautiful woman among those two brothers. And when they saw the woman, they got very attracted. And their sense gratification desire was already there. So that developed more and more. And it developed to a certain over attachment to that woman that they just started fighting that, oh, I want to keep her, I want to keep her, I want to, and they forgot their own love or that closeness that the two brothers had. And then they ended up killing each other. So that's what attachment, over attachment to these material activities does. In Prabhupada is also mentioned in the purport about Hiranyakashipu. So Hiranyakashipu, there is in Srimad Bhagavatam 7:19. There's a situation mentioned about him. So he was very powerful. He had everything that he could get in this world. So if I read that translation, it says, in spite of achieving the power to control in all directions, and in spite of enjoying all types of dear sense gratification as much as possible, Hiranyakashipu was dissatisfied. Because why he was dissatisfied? Because instead of controlling his senses, he remained servant of those senses. So he was being controlled by his senses rather than being in control. So you are not powerful if you have everything, but you can't control your own senses. So, and then the dissatisfaction will arise. So one need to learn to control his senses and mind. In Bhagavad Gita, it says mind can be your friend and it can be your enemy. So we have to make our mind our friend and we have to control those senses. There is one more story of Bilva Mangal Thakur. His father died and he was doing the last rites with the pandit. And he usually at that stage, what a person be? He would be missing the father, feeling worried about, or miss all those memories of association. But his attachment was so much to a prostitute that even at that point of life, he was saying to the priest, please hurry up, I need to go. So that moment of life was also not making him realize that death can come to him also. Forget about his emotional attachment or any sort of connection with his father. But it was more like he thought, oh, it is happening to everybody, but not to me. That's what sense gratification also does. So, and it was raining heavily. If it is raining heavily, we probably wouldn't want to go out. But he went out in storm, and then he finally reached, with a lot of trouble, he reached to the prostitute's house, and the door was locked. He knocked and knocked and knocked, but nobody opened the door. And he was like, oh, how do I get in? So that attachment, that over attachment for sense gratification was there, that he just wanted to go by any means. So he saw a window, it had a light on it, and he saw something like a rope. And he thought, okay, he can just climb that. And he climbed that rope and got in. But that rope was a snake. And then he finally reached there and he met the prostitute. The prostitute was so unhappy to see him. She said, if you were so attached to me, only if you had a little bit of this attachment for the Lord, your life would be successful. What is the use of being attached to me? And he took that instruction. And from that, of course, his life transformed because he became a very, very sincere devotee and turned this determination and attachment towards Krishna. But the point here is that how sense gratification can blind someone, that regardless of what the situation is around, person is just working towards achieving those things to fulfill our senses. He was not bothered about his father, not about weather, nor about snake. Who climbs the snake? So this is how somebody can be blinded. So when somebody wants to enjoy the senses, two things happen. As we know, that inclination becomes stronger and stronger. And then and the second thing is that one has to suffer the negative karma. So in 5.22, Krishna says in this context that an intelligent person does not take part in sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, And so the wise man does not delight in it. And he explains this material world as dukhala. So what he's saying that the source of misery, which are due to the contact with the material senses. So when somebody is intelligent enough, they understand this. And they also understand that this material world is like, you can never be happy. I mean, you can be happy, but it's temporary. The happiness in this world is like a gap between the two miseries. So your temporary happiness, which we are running after, is not going to bring any satisfaction. But when we chant, and then slowly our tendency to enjoy decreases. So this is how we can control the senses through chanting, through mantra. So mantra is something that purifies our mind. So then we can change this habit through right association, through chanting, through performing some devotional activities. And we don't need to just restrain our senses and live there, but we need to engage our senses in Krishna's service. It's not easy to do it like that, because somebody just restrains the senses and does nothing, then at the end it will just burst out of as a pressure cooker. You put a lot of pressure, and suddenly it will burst. So it's better to channelize it. But then somebody may think that, oh, I'm doing so much, but I can't be purified so immediately. So there is one nice explanation by Prabhupada in the purport. He says in, that's the purport of 11th canto, 20 chapter 27 to 29 verses. He's saying that because of one's past sinful activities and bad habits, one may not immediately be able to completely extinguish the enjoying spirit. Because we are conditioned, we are not conditioned only from this life, we are conditioned from multiple lives. So we can't immediately just remove this. But the Lord here encourages such a devotee not to be overly depressed or morose, but to remain enthusiastic and to go on with his loving service. So we don't need to focus on our flaws and become morose, but we need to keep working on it, that someday it will go away. Through this devotional practice. So he's really reassuring that we will eventually become purified, but we need to start. We can't become perfect. A lot of time people say, I will start chanting when I'm purified. But chanting is to purify. So we need to start without worrying about that, oh, I have this problem, I have that problem, I can't start now. Because once we start, then our anarthas will go away. So the anarthas of lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, illusion, all of that will go away, but we can't make it go away all by ourselves. We have to just keep endeavoring, take the shelter of sadhu, shastra, and guru, and then Krishna will see our sincerity, and he will give that mercy. That finally one day all the anarthas will be removed, and one gets to the next stage of bhakti. So the main aim should be that we just need to please Krishna, and we need to serve him, understand our position, and continue working on our spiritual duties and material duties by aligning those to Krishna consciousness. And then we can finally curb this desire of sense gratification. Thank you, everyone. If anybody has got any comments or questions? Online, if anybody has got any comments or questions, Shama Mataji.
I don't see any questions posted on the chat group, but anybody's free to ask. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, Mataji. What level we are in? Guru can explain, through our teacher can explain and give us instruction as per our level. And the teacher could be your like somebody who's training you in this spiritual process. That person can help to identify where we are and how we can push ourselves a little bit higher from where we are. So that's how I think we ourselves can't tell how we are. I don't know how one can distinguish that. But there is a section in Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, 13.8 to 12, where it talks about different processes. We can weigh against how we are in all those categories. It has given a description. So we can have a way that, or in terms of humility, in terms of pridelessness, in terms of cleanliness, in terms of lots of other things that has mentioned there, where we are from our judgment. But of course, that won't be the best. So it's always good that who is looking after us in our spiritual life to ask them that what is good for us and how we can progress with it. Thank you, Anthony. So we will end here. Thank you, everyone. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.